Hello, everybody. So today we're going to start with the 1 point perspective landscape drawing for our watercolor pictures. So I printed off a series of just different photos. You're not going to do this. You'll be able to use your Chromebooks, and it will be easier with your Chromebooks. I know some of you are going to want to use your phones, and I'm going to explain why that might not be the greatest thing to do, because it's going to excuse your perspective on what we need to accomplish. First thing we need to do is when we look at a picture we want, you need to find where that point's going to go. When you have a reflection like I do, it's actually kind of a cheat. I'm going to grab a ruler here and see, this is why it'll be easier on a Chromebook. You know those little floppy rulers that I have? There was a purpose for them, and that was so you could put them on your Chromebook without scratching the screen. And I will find out that my point is right there. I'm gonna get a Sharpie so you'll be able to see that. And so there's my point where I'm gonna start all my main guidelines to help me draw a natural landscape. So this was pretty easy to find. How about this next one? This next one is very much like our video. I don't even need to take the ruler to figure out the point is going to be right there. As you know, when I do a guideline, you'll have things that'll cross the line either way. And so you don't have to worry about that. And I'll take one of these and I'll draw the guidelines so you can see how it would work, especially with trees and stuff like that. And now this one, let's take a look at this one. This one looks like it would be very hard. I'm gonna move this paper because I got a feeling if the Sharpie might leak through, I don't need black dots on it. Believe it or not, if you follow the horizon line, remember the horizon line that he talked about in the video? If you follow that line, it will actually lead you to your point. But not every picture has the 1 point on the photo. It took me a while to find one. But you guys always seem to be very good. If you look at this, we are looking at a man-made field, and like I said, some of you are choosing to have man-made objects in your thing. We can see Mount Fuji in the background, but if we follow it to its natural course, we find out that the point is actually off the photo. Now you know why I printed it smaller. And so when I do my guidelines to my images from the corner, but we can see the horizon line, we can do Mount Fuji, and look at this. We can even do top of the trees, and then we just kind of cross right there. And now will be our guidelines to where the perspective of everything is when we're sketching for depth. Now I did grab another photo, and this photo, and the word I was trying to remember talking to a few of you was aerialscape. When we don't want to do pure aerialscapes, but this is kind of a mix of a land and an aerialscape, and it's pretty darn easy where the point is. It's just right there, and I barely use any guidelines for this. As you can, because it has elements of an aerialscape, the branches are a little different. Now, why did I choose this one? Because I'm going to show you, if you want to paint black, how to do it properly. If you look at the example that's on my board that has all that black, they did not do it correctly. And even though that painting is 8 to 10 years old, if you touch it, the black in the corners is still very sticky. If you're sweating a little bit, it'll reactivate the watercolor there. So I will show you this one on my final painting, just because how I'm going to teach you to do watercolor. This will be just perfect for examples. But to do examples for the sketch, first let me just do this so you can kind of see where I'm going to go with my on my sketch, how I'm going to do this. So I'm going to first do the horizon line. I'm going to take the dot and I'm going to figure out where the perfect line of that's going to be. I think that's where I'll do the separation as I go. And then I'm going to go up first. I think that's where I want. That'll be a better guideline right there. And then I'm going to do this side. The ruler is blurring the Sharpie. Sorry about that, but I thought this would be the best way for you to see. And as you can see, that is the start of my guidelines, but it's not the end of it, because right here is where I'm going to use for the rocks. And I just want to see where the tip will go. I think I might just go here. Could I make another one right there? I could. I'm just not going to. And you might be asking, what about these mountains over here? Think of it off the horizon line, just like you saw in the video where he just added the mountains on the, so that works into the horizon. The clouds, sometimes you do have to do guidelines. Like I could put one that goes right there to help separate that cloud shadow, but I'm not going to do that right now. Because that one is like, if I realize if I need a stronger guideline to help me, this is what I'm going to do. And naturally, if I do it in marker on my sketch paper, I won't be able to erase. Guidelines are meant to be erased. So now I'm going to get my sketch paper and I'm going to sketch this picture. And I want to talk about a couple things. Why you're going to practice drawing this over and over. As you will see, my sketch isn't going to be highly detailed with a pencil. So why are we going to practice it over and over? Well, we are practicing it over and over because we need to practice light. And I'm starting with a mechanical pencil to kind of show you, even when I try to be light, it's still pretty dark. It's easy to erase, but it's pretty dark. But I want you to have the process of learning to draw lightly. As I switch pencils, you might have at some point, as I told you, you may not want to sharpen to a point. I like my pencils to be rounded because when I use this, see how light I can draw with that and how gentle. I'm not carving into the paper. It's real easy to erase and it just totally disappears. And that's why we want to do that. So the first thing I'm going to sketch is where I want my horizon line. So I'm looking at my photo. Of course, it's easy when I have a printed copy and I can see my guidelines to begin with. Even if you put your horizon up too high or too low, you just make the adjustments. You don't try to squeeze. Remember, this is just a sketch. It doesn't have to be perfect. So I'm going to start my point right there. And then I'm going to do my guidelines. And let's see how we do this. Nice and gentle. Should mirror what I've done before. Should have about the same thickness. If I get off, I could always readjust. And then I want one more line, right guys? I almost forgot about that. To help me with the rocks and that little bit of shore. Now, this is where I'll start to draw. Now, do I have to start at the point? I don't have to, but I always find it easier. I'm not going to worry about the reflection. For me, the reflection is something that I wait a long while to do. And as you can see, I just started off with a sketch, but look how dark I'm drawing. As you can see, the first time I'm going to do this, I always feel like I need to be a little darker. But as I get more experience into drawing it, you realize I can back off, and I can probably do this now. You guys probably know me well enough now that I probably know what I'm doing on my sketches. Okay, so what am I going to do about all these little rock details? I'm just going to feather some marks, because what I'm going to do is when I look at the photo, this is something I can actually do with the watercolor brush. I don't want the pencil to come through. I want to do it with color. And I know it might be hard for some of you to see that, and that's the point. I want you to really have to look at it. And then I'm just going to go to the horizon line and do this. And then I'm going to work on the shore. As you can see, I can go beyond. And then, like I said, when I back off the pencil, it gets much lighter. So when I do a rock, notice those extra lines makes it look like it's dimensional. There's mass to it. So just don't draw, don't call this a rock. By adding just one edge line or even more curved lines, it will give it some mass, so it'll look like a rock. So as you paint, it'll be easier to paint that mass. Okay, so I'm gonna go a little darker again. So what do I do when I have a lot of green? So I'm not gonna look at the picture, I'm just gonna draw that for you, because you'll find that I'm not gonna draw everything for you, because you'll see that it's very repetitive. And I know you guys probably want a time lapse. Unfortunately, I'm doing this the weekend we're going to start painting, so I don't have the time to do it just yet. Maybe that's something I just need to do in the future. As you can see, what I might do is I might just do a few marks, and notice the difference between where I want to be and how I start in learning how to draw stuff. Because as my first sketch goes, I'm going to make a lot of mistakes. And the idea is every time you sketch, you get it better than the one before and lighter than the one before. And I will explain why in the next lesson. Basically, watercolor paper just smudges the pencil horribly, and it becomes super problematic. So what do I do when I'm dealing with reflections? So reflections, I almost just draw in dashed lines. And it helps me to remember to go super light with it. And I probably should look at what I draw. I'm kind of trying to look at the picture, because even if I draw something wrong, I should at least repeat it in the reflection, right? And I'm gonna just get up to here. And I'm just gonna do dashed lines. And that's how I'm going to guide myself. And then when I draw clouds, I'm gonna be super light, because when we go to paint, you will discover that things that we see as white aren't truly white. So, and we're not gonna be using a white watercolor. Is there white watercolor? Yes, but we're not gonna be using it. So we're gonna use the paper color to leave things white, and then where we maybe want blue. And notice that I'm not going to put all the details of the cloud. I'm not going to do all the little wisp. If you look up here, I have a little wisp of that. Will be more for painting than it is for drawing. Does this make sense? So I will continue to draw this. It'll probably take me 2 days, 3 days for the first one, and then it's probably 1 to 2 days per other sketches. So we're gonna sketch next week. And then hopefully we'll move on to the final paper. The next video is just gonna show you how to go to final paper and the warning of watercolor paper. And the final video is gonna just show you how to paint, guys. So I hope you enjoyed this. And just in case you always like this, I don't know who likes this stuff and who doesn't, but just remember, you are beautiful. And we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.